welcome to Human Touch from Interact Studio. I'm Lou Solomon, and we are so glad you're here. This is a free weekly series. We're here every Thursday at 11, and let me note that due to the special nature of the program today, we will run until 11:40 a.m. Today's program is the making of Charlotte's Black Lives Matter mural, and this morning we were just talking about this. There's an essay in the New York Times by John Lewis. He visited the Black Lives Matter mural in DC the day before he was admitted to the hospital, and he asked that his essay be published the day of his funeral. So his funeral being today, that piece is in the New York Times, and it is one of the most inspirational things you'll ever read. But he says, quote, "I just had to see the mural and feel it for myself, that after many years of silent witness, the truth is still marching on." And he also tells us, together you can redeem the soul of our nation. It's a beautiful piece. Thank you, Susie Adams, for sending that over. And I know you'll look it up. It's one you don't want to miss. A quick heads up about next week's program. We've got Karen Calder of Classroom Central joining us, and she'll talk about the reopening of schools next month and our at-risk kids, which is so important. Finally, a quick shout out to my Interact family in the house. Give us a wave. Susie Adams, Julie Haldane, Porter Metzler, Michael Samet, Tina Tyler, Jess Barilla, and Patrick Sheehan is our lovely producer this morning. Love you guys. We have 4 guests this morning, and I am going to introduce 2 of them. Matt Olin and Tim Miner are co-founders of Charlotte is Creative, which produces Creative Mornings, among many other programs. They are a part of the Interact family, and we love them, not just because they do terrific work for Charlotte's creative community, but because they are 2 of the most honest, passionate, good to the bone human beings that we know. So,
Honey, get in here. You need to hear this.
Yeah, I was just going to say, my wife's on a conference call. Are we recording this?
Yeah, we are.
Good. I need that on a loop.
Yeah, I'll get it for you. But with all of that, I will turn it over to them.
Well, thank you so much. It is an honor to be here to speak about this very special project that we felt very honored to be a part of, quite frankly. And we really feel like the spotlight needs to be put on the other 2 guests. You introduced the 2 of us, but the spotlight really deserves to be on the other 2 guests. And so in the interest of time, what Tim and I will do is introduce them, and then we'll start, unleashing the hardcore questions that we have prepared for Taiwo and Monica about that really special mural uptown. So Tim, anything else you want to say before we...
Yeah, I think what the best way, honestly, to get into it, I don't know if those on the call have actually been to the mural site and seen it, but before we introduce Ty and Monica, who really are the unsung heroes of all of this, I think we have a video that we produced on the day with our team at Charlotte Star Room, and that uses the words of Greg Jackson of Heal Charlotte. And I think that's the appropriate way to kind of kick this off, and then we'll go into introducing you to Ty and Monica, 2 of our favorite Charlotteans.
Legacy. Are you willing to attach yourself to a legacy that's bigger than yours? Is it all about you? Is it self-preservation, or is it about your brothers and sisters? What do you live for, and what is your legacy? What are they gonna say about you when you're gone? Does it matter 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, or do you just wanna be remembered as a t-shirt? Have you attached yourself to a legacy? Do you have enough relationships in this world that people are gonna remember you for your morals, your values, or are they gonna remember you for your last tweet? Does your name stand forever? Do you have integrity? Do you have passion? Do you have purpose? Do you have legacy? Are you trying to be healed? Are you trying to heal others, or is it about self-preservation? Because if it's about that, then we're not gonna make any positive change. I need us to move forward, but do you know where we was at? And I need you to make a choice. You either gonna build or destroy. Don't watch me not breathing. Stop the camera and get involved. I need you to get the action. I need you to do something. The protest is not about today. The protest is 365 days a year. Are you ready to do something bigger than you? Do you have integrity? Will you do the right thing when nobody is looking? Do you have passion? Are you fired up about something and you don't know where to place it? Have you walked into your purpose yet? And are you willing? Are you willing to attach yourself to a legacy that's bigger than you?
I think that puts us all kind of in a frame of reference to then enter into the discussion of how did that mural came together, who was behind it. A lot of media has been devoted, as it absolutely should be, to the artists, the 17 artists, and then the scores of support artists who came together to put that mural down, and to protect it and to amplify it.
Hey there.
But it started.
Yeah, but I'm listening to something now, so I can talk to you. I'm gonna go hit golf balls in a minute.
But it started. I'm sorry. I love video calls. But it started with a lifetime devotion to placemaking and to building incredible cities that our guests Taiwo and Monica have. And so it's our pleasure to introduce them to you. Matt, why don't you talk about Taiwo first?
Well, Taiwo is currently serves as the Assistant City Manager and Director of Planning, Design, and Development with the City of Charlotte. He has more than 26 years of experience nationally and internationally in this work. And now he is responsible for the planning activities in Charlotte and in unincorporated portions of Mecklenburg County. He oversees a department with 5 divisions: the Charlotte Urban Design Center, Long Range and Strategic Planning, Charlotte Regional Transportation Organization, Rezoning and Annexation, and Land Development. He's also currently overseeing the city's rewrite of the 20-year comprehensive plan. This is the first one since 1975, as well as the city's development code, which will be imprinted with his vision of an equitable, livable, sustainable, and inclusive Charlotte. I should also mention that the man has 6 daughters, and so as a man with 1 daughter, the dude's my hero. That's all I'm gonna say. So, Ty, it's awesome that you're here with us today.
Thank you for having me today.
And it's my pleasure to introduce you to Monica Holmes. Monica is a planning coordinator and urban designer with the city. She works directly and very, very closely with Ty. His crazy ideas and visions are largely placed on her lap and desk to accomplish. But Monica designs spaces and places that inspire people to have fun, get engaged, and express their love for the community. Her job is to help each of us find our way and our place here in Charlotte and to fall deeper in love with our community. I'm really proud to say that Monica's been Matt and I will call her a creative co-conspirator for many years with Charlotte as creative and with the endeavors that we had before that. She is an incredibly hard worker, and I say that as somebody who considers himself a hard worker. She will out hustle and outwork anyone that you can put in front of her. She is one of those rare people that we've found that can come up with a plan and then dives in headlong to execute the plan. So she can competently map out what needs to be done and then grab the paint cans and the tarps and the bottles of water to assist those getting the plan done. It's been my pleasure to work with people in the city for my entire career. And I can say, I think very confidently, that there is a new wind blowing through. The individuals that are building the city and are part of the UDO and the placemaking program are incredible. And so it's just, to call Monica my colleague is an honor. And I'm really happy to introduce you to her today. And I will say that Matt and I have a very unique relationship with both of them. We're usually very jokey with them. So we're going to try to keep this on the rails and be very professional this morning. So Ty and Monica, if you would turn your microphones on, I'm going to ask you the first question. And we may break in from time to time to kind of keep this conversation going. We'll try not to to knock it off the track. But the first question is this, and we'll start with Ty and then go to Monica with your answers. So June 9th may have been the day that the actual Black Lives Matter mural was put down on the 200 block of South Tryon Street. But the origins of that mural started years and years before. It started with both of you developing a lifelong passion for urban design and the physical layout and the manifestation of cities. So I'm going to ask each of you, what sparked that interest in placemaking and city building in both of you?
Thank you. So I'll start, and then Monica she definitely does a better job at handling this stuff than I am. But usually when people think about planning, they often think it's all about rules and regulations and zoning and build this, don't do that. It's always like do's and don'ts. And yes, that may be, but planners connect dots. And every time you see an opportunity, you envision how you can make it better. And it doesn't matter how great it looks, you always want to make it better. And because planning is such a multidisciplinary profession, it allows you to see a whole range of things. So, for example, once I saw what Mayor Bowser did in DC, I know that was political. But in a planner and a designer's mind, you instantly think, how can you create a place by turning that story around? How can you build on that story and create something that could really be vibrant for a community? But not only that, even though it was a moment in time, how do you make sure that you connect with the other things that can really create an environment for people to interact, bring in artists, bring in muralists, bring in people who can actually, engineers, traffic planners, and just pull all of this together to create that space. So that's really what, often planners think about. You think about a statement and instantly a vision comes to mind. And all of a sudden you're thinking of, how can I create a vibrant environment? How can I create a thriving community? And that's exactly what this was supposed to do for us as well. So Monica?
Sure. I mean, I've been passionate about this type of work for a really long time. So I was trained as an architect. I went to architecture school, and I've been really focused on the physical design of place since I was probably 12, 13 years old. And that slowly evolved over time and really turned into a passion for cities. So I think the passion for cities, and especially my own city, I'm from Charlotte, I'm a Charlottean. It's kind of all built to this time period, I think, of my career. If you asked me 10 years ago what my dream job was, it was probably creating great places and running the Urban Design Center in Charlotte, which is what I get to do every day. So I think that passion is just a slow evolution over time of kind of seeing what the possibilities are. This project really has coalesced over, I've been at the city for about 5 years and 2 months, and it's been a slow build, I think, culminating in a project like this. So Tim, you mentioned, we all met each other several years ago, kind of in the same type of space, and probably never imagined that it would be this type of project that we all got to work together on and realize. So I really think it's that slow evolution of creating great places, learning from other people's work, kind of seeing what the possibilities are, applying new principles to planning and to design, kind of the significance of art and art at the intersection of design has just been a recent evolution in the field. And I think that it's been something we've been very passionate about on our team. And this is really just the evolution of that and kind of seeing it all be realized and into action. And, I think we're now just excited of how we can continue to evolve that practice and continue to apply it to other public spaces and other projects, honestly.
And Matt, before you ask your next question, and I don't want to interject too much, but Monica, I really appreciate one thing that you said, which was, I appreciated all of what you said, but the last point was that these kinds of relationships, projects like this depend on trust and relationship, and they take a long time to manifest. We're really, when we see the paint down on the ground, that is the tip of the iceberg, and there's a lot under the water. And that's really why we're here today, is to talk about, you know, so much that the public didn't see. So I really appreciate you saying that. And as for your other projects, we are featuring one of your placemaking projects in the Biscuit today, and I am sharing that link right now in the chat.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
shifting
we're really excited about that.
Shifting a little bit now from sort of the personal origin story of both Taiwo and Monica, and now a little bit into the actual story of the specific Black Lives Matter mural uptown. In our media channel, The Biscuit, we have told the story now of Taiwo's tweet on June 5th that sort of sparked this collaboration between the city of Charlotte and our nonprofit, Charlotte is Creative. And that ultimately led to us bringing in other organizations like Brand the Moth, Black Market Charlotte, and the artists that actually painted the street. But that actually wasn't the first step with this project. Monica, could you talk a little bit about what Ty sent you and your team before that tweet? And then Ty, a little bit from you about what made you reach out to your team and set this course of action in motion.
Sure. I think maybe it was the last one of these we did. A little funny moment on it is that we actually got an email about, I looked at the timestamp, I think it was around 9:30 on a Friday night, that said, hey guys, what do you think? What can we do this? And I really quickly, you know, it's kind of many years in the making. So we had been working on these types of projects for numerous years. And we replied back quickly, sure, we can make it happen. Let's figure out how to do it. I asked some questions, some exploratory questions, because, you know, it's how quick is the turnaround? How quick can we make it all happen? What needs to go into place to do it? And from there, so I responded to Ty and said, sure, let me get a little more information from you. And from there, he was quick on it. He had answers by Saturday morning, and the tweet had gone out, and we were kind of rolling on it. So I'll leave it there, and then maybe Ty can take over why our team.
Yeah, usually when the creative juices in me flow, the first place I go to is the Placemaking Hub. And those are the guys who know how to activate underutilized spaces. They know how to walk on water. They pretty much know how to turn, you know, how do I say it now? How to turn hard things into what people can relate to. So when I sent that email, it was also with a picture there. Hey, you guys seen this? What can we do with this? And obviously the vision in my head was straight and Tryon. So, and as you think about these things, obviously you want to hear from your team so they can push back. Usually I would say, hey guys, tell me what's wrong with this, what's good with this. But internally and unknown to them, I was already also checking with our internal resources, like a legal department, like a Department of Transportation, about Tryon, and they quickly got back to me. Obviously, the placemaking team got back to me and said, well, Trade and Tryon might be challenging because we've got the streetcar that will be rolling in that direction. There's a lot of construction work going there, but definitely Tryon, because that's our main street. And so when that tweet went out on Saturday morning, it said it was just imagine what we can do and even leave it there for maybe 2 weeks, right? I think I said. I wasn't thinking it was going to turn into a sensation overnight and then even become what we have today. But like I said earlier, when a planner sees something, you start to connect the dot. But I also know that government doesn't move quickly, and we typically will want to check and go through all the bureaucratic process. But as soon as, I believe it was Tim that reached out to me and said, let me know how we can make this happen. And said, okay, hold on a minute. And so sent an email, and you know, before you know it, this had actually gone to exactly the way that I thought it was going to go. We were not. We could imagine it, we could dream it, we could set it on, but it has to be the community that takes the lead and that runs with it. So a lot of internal things were going on between me and the placemaking team, and between me and other staff, as well as how can we make this a reality in our city and create a space, kind of that intersection, right, between place and race, and really maximize that moment. So I'm glad it is what we have today, because we wouldn't be having this conversation if that all those things never happen.
I don't know if anybody on the call assume saw it, but when Monica mentioned that she didn't know on that Friday email about what the timeline was, I saw quite a smile flash across your face there, Ty. I don't think anybody imagined it would come together this quickly, but that's probably the way it needed to happen. And one thing about the placemaking team is that whereas much government has to move by necessity slowly and long and methodically, the placemaking team has the ability to adjust a little bit more quickly and do things that are of the moment, in the moment, with a high impact but quick turnaround, which is I'm sure taking years off of Monica's life. But Ty, what you said, and I would appreciate you answering first and then going to Monica with this, is that you did originally think it was going to, or purport that it was going to be 2 weeks. That was your idea, but it quickly became something other than that. Because almost from the moment the first brushstroke was laid down, the mural became, as some have really described it, several people have described it, a sacred place in Charlotte. People started gathering before the paint was dry. Prayer sessions and demonstrations took place there that night. I mean, we were moving paint cans as people were moving in. Generations of families have visited there. Graduation photos have been taken there. Music videos have been shot there. And I think that speaks to a hunger and a need for a sense of place. So in your mind, in the work that you two do, what does it mean for that everyone in Charlotte needs to feel that they have their own special place in Charlotte that says, this is your home, you belong here?
There's this quote by William Shakespeare that when I walked into my very first planning class many years ago, it was something that I really grabbed, and I still remember. He said, what is the city but the people? What is the city but the people? And that kind of is the way that I've always thought about planning. I always also believe that if people make cities matter, then cities should make people matter, especially people who have been marginalized, such as the Black community in our cities, and of course the brown communities as well. And so when we elevate people who have been marginalized for so long, we create an environment for all of us. And so saying Black Lives Matter obviously doesn't take anything away from other lives, but it pretty much says that if there are people who have been oppressed and marginalized for so long, how can we elevate them and really attach value to their lives that really should have been there for many years? So this is kind of, to me, it's a combination of a number of things. If we planned it so hard, it will not be what it is today. And that was why I used the word artify. In other words, how can we artify our streets? Bring artists together, not just think alone about the way we've always done business as planners and designers and transportation planners, and business people, but how can you create art and create an environment where people will go? I've been to that place many times. I've taken my family there. I've seen people in wedding gowns, taking pictures there, like you said, graduates. I sat down there. One of the most emotional moments for me was that very evening when an African-American gentleman told me that he never knew that in his lifetime in Charlotte that this would ever happen. And that was really emotional for me. Because I remember when I took my dad to Martin Luther King's memorial in Atlanta just before he passed away, and he told me that he went through a lot of discrimination in this country when he was a student, and he never knew that at some point in his life he would be standing at that memorial, and for a while he actually shed tears. This Black Lives Matter Plaza reminded me of that moment when I took my dad to Martin Luther King Jr.'s memorial in Atlanta, a sacred place, an opportunity to think about our history, to think about our past as a nation. Because I often say this, history has a way of repeating itself unless someone changes something deliberately. To me, even though it might be a symbol to many people, I believe it's more than that. It's a platform for change. Is a platform to communicate change, is a platform to bring people together, regardless of race or color or creed or beliefs. And I've been there so many times and I can remember. Sometimes just sit there and look, and it's amazing how many things that I've seen happen in that place and the conversations that I've been having with people. So I'm glad it came to fruition, but I'm also glad it's gone over the 2 weeks that I had, tweeted that it's become a community gathering place for us, a healing moment and a healing spot for our city.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we didn't have, like to Taiwo's point, we didn't have an idea as to the impact that it would have, I think, in the moment and then the like 48 hours leading up to the installation. So I think in that moment and that time, I mean, honestly, it was, we think this is going to be impactful. We think this is going to be important. How do we add kind of Charlotte's spin to it? How do we make this unique to here? How do we kind of build on the trust that we have? You know, we were asking questions of people of, you know, trying, how do we ensure that the artists are people of color? There was a lot of trust in that Black Market Charlotte and Brand the Moth were the right people, which they 100% were. There was, you know, when Ty said, oh, can this last for 2 weeks? We said, I texted him back and said, well, that's not really the paint that we would use. I think we need to use permanent paint. And I went to the store an hour later and bought $1,000 worth of permanent paint and said, well, we already have the paint. So I think that all of it was just, let's get to this moment. We think it will be impactful. And then watching it unfold afterwards and on the day of, I think is what has really inspired people and made people feel that sense of pride in our city. But honestly, a lot of it, and I think, you know, what Ty said is very inspiring. I think a lot of it has been just things falling into place in the right way and not really knowing that was going to happen. And so I think sometimes you just luck out and you create something that's really special. A lot of people have asked why that block, why that location, why those artists. And I'm now saying, you know, I don't, there isn't a clear answer. It just kind of that was what we thought was the best decision at the time. And I mean, thanking our lucky stars and higher beings that those, I think, ended up being the right decisions.
Yeah, and then to see the reverberation of that, I mean, we then began to be on the receiving end of emails from Seattle and Palo Alto and Melbourne, Australia, basically saying, we love what you did in Charlotte. Can you help us sort of pull this similar thing off in these cities? And to watch those murals come to life too, it just goes to show you the domino effect that is possible with an impactful project like this. Speaking of the domino effect, yeah, this project has now far exceeded in time what was initially imagined, and so much so that the street has now been closed until the end of September currently. So tell us a little bit, and by the way, we have tons of other questions, but we only have time probably for 2 more because I think we're at 10 minutes to go here. So so the penultimate question would be, tell us a little bit about how that decision to close the street came about, and did the mural spark the idea of pedestrian plaza, or was a pedestrian plaza something that you've always wanted to test out for a while, but the mural sort of became a timely opportunity to experiment with that?
So every progressive city definitely wants to make sure that you focus a lot on pedestrians rather than the automobile, obviously. So it's always been part of our thought process as a city that we will have to create a plaza for pedestrians to be able to interact more than it is today. But this wasn't planned to be the catalyst for that. It was, as you can tell, in the Center Cities All in 2040 plan, one of the recommendations was to make Tryon Street a 365-day, 24/7 pedestrian activated corridor. And part of our comprehensive plan also was to envision corridors that can really give pedestrians opportunity to be active and to interact more. So when we realized that you have this mural, but people started to gather there and then vehicles were just speeding through, safety became priority for us. You just couldn't look at that and not do something. Hence the reason why we shut down the street, that block rather, right immediately afterwards. But what it did though was that even though it had been in our thought process, it did allow us to now begin to test something as a pilot, that can we even do this beyond this block? And so that's why we decided eventually we're going to close this up to September 30, where we are engaging stakeholders in what works and what doesn't work. What happens after September 30, I don't know. Could be that we may reopen this, but it's still very important that safety and the consideration of people who live and do business in that area will be driving that decision when we get to that point. But Tryon, though, I'll say beyond the Black Lives Matter plaza itself, Tryon, though, is one that's right at the forefront of our mind as to how we activate that for pedestrians as we go into the future. But it's going to be beyond that block. So that conversation is ongoing right now, and we definitely will make that decision prior to September 30.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that a little bit that to the placemaking program, and thanks Tim for putting it in the chat, but the placemaking program, we have really been focused on small public spaces that are kind of actively programmed for the past couple of years. We're very active in the 5 Points Plaza, which will be opening in the next year. We did a pilot project at Prosperity, the Green at Prosperity. We funded several grant programs in other parts of the city. So we felt like this was kind of an accidental pilot in Uptown. We did the pilot at Gulf Porch several years ago, but how do we activate more public space in Charlotte, and specifically smaller public spaces that can be gathering places for a wide variety of programming, anywhere from, there's getting ready to be yoga happening on the plaza at Black Lives Matter here in the next couple of days. Anything from like a yoga to live music to outdoor dining to a place for protest is something that really is in our wheelhouse and a special kind of passion project of several of our team members. And so this really just fits into that. And I think understanding and learning how this functions kind of in the very core and heart of our city is really important. So I think we're trying to learn from the pilot. I will just couch a little bit of what Taiwo said with the fact that it is challenging in the middle of a global pandemic to do kind of what a true pilot should look like. If this were not in this scenario, we would be able to do a lot more kind of what we would call activations or actively using the space. That's worked out in our favor in some ways because it is sacred ground. And so there is a sense of calm there and a sense of kind of not that much activity that really focuses attention on the mural. But in a kind of pilot plaza scenario, you would see more activity, but we're trying to be very respectful about just where we are as a city, honestly, with COVID, and be respectful of kind of the measures that are currently in place and keeping those at like the forefront of our mind.
I hate to say it, we're in the last couple of minutes here. But I do want to take a second and push back. A lot of this, Monica, you said, I think appropriately, that like sometimes you luck out, but at the same time, we all know as creatives, it's the 10,000 hour rule. You have to be prepared. You and Taiwo and your team, with Rachel and Charlotte and everybody else that was involved, Britt and Ken, you are experts because you've put the time in, so that when the opportunity arises, you have a better than average chance of turning something that could not work into something that does work. So let's not discount that, because you guys have devoted your lives to that. The last question is exactly what you just said. I want you to expand a little bit more on the kinds of projects that you have done in the recently and what you've got coming up for placemaking. And I would remind the audience that we put a lot of links to placemaking projects, the placemaking team, a speech that Ty did at Creative Mornings in the chat. So before you leave, make sure to check that out if you want to learn more about these guys. So tell us a little bit more about what you got cooking at Placemaking.
Well, I can take that. So we are, as you can imagine, busy. We just finished up the 15 murals that there were several of the artists who worked on the Black Lives Matter mural who did those murals. So thanks, Creative Morning, Charlotte is Creative. Thanks for featuring that in the biscuit. We are actively very engaged in the Corridors of Opportunity program, which is focused on 6 corridors throughout the city. And so our placemaking efforts over the next year will be focused on those 6 corridors, which are West Sugar Creek and 85, North Tryon, North Graham, Albemarle and Central Avenue, Wilkinson and Freedom, Beatty's Ford and Rosl's Ferry, and then West Boulevard is the 6th one. So stay tuned for all the great things that we'll be doing in those corridors. And that'll be everything from pop-up plazas, so small plazas, to more art, more murals, signal box wraps, and just we're even trying to integrate now how we can do performing arts and other visual arts. So really working closely with our team on that. And then also we have several grant projects that are getting ready to get kicked off. So I think the biscuit actually featured several of our grant winners, but we have some really great projects that will be happening in the next 9 to 12 months. We put over $160,000 into the grants program and happening all over the city. Everything from reimagining kind of a strip mall into an arts culture center to a really cool edible gardens, more murals, all sorts of really awesome things happening in those grants projects. And we're just going to keep at it. So we're working on a partnership with UNCC too to get them involved in these types of programs. And yeah, so stay tuned. Lots of cool things in the works.
Yeah, and the best thing I can do as the planning director and also assistant city manager is to support them. I mean, the best way that creatives can really, really, truly exhibit their skills and their expertise is to let them run with it, let them flow with it. Don't hijack them, don't try to box them in. You know, so, and that's kind of, I just like to say that I empower Monica's group to make sure that they get the resources they need to turn our city into a vibrant environment. Equity is very big to us. And this has placemaking has a major role in creating equitable communities and equitable cities. And so I really hope that the community can continue to partner with us on this. It's not like government doesn't think creatively, we do, but bringing them to life requires partnership with the community. And so that's really where we need you. And so we are ready, and we just want to make sure that as we look at all of these ideas, we make sure that it's something that can lift up communities and really create a city that people can come to and really, you know, be that Charlotte. Everybody believes that everybody who lives here belongs here.
Well, as I said at the top of this program, it's been an honor to be in partnership with you and the whole team on the Black Lives Matter mural project. We're grateful for the trust that you put in us and the other organizations and the artists to step into the collaboration and help bring the vision to life for our fellow citizens. And quite frankly, if that wasn't enough, to have a city manager and a city planner who quotes Shakespeare, and not just Shakespeare, but my favorite Shakespeare play, Coriolanus. What is the city but the people? I mean, I'm falling deeper in love with Charlotte every day.
The only 3 people in the world that love Coriolanus may be on this Zoom call right now. Well, Lou, I think we landed your plane safely and on time, which is what we told you we would do. So thanks to Taiwo and Monica. This was a great conversation, and thanks for letting us share this story. Oh, Lou, you're on mute.
Yeah, there's a constant bit of comedy going on with that, but I don't want it to end. It went way too fast. Taiwo and Monica, thank you so much for making Charlotte, a city that is its people. You know, I'm just so moved and inspired and grateful that we have the two superheroes in you that we have. Gosh, I'm grateful for that. You know, and Matt and Tim for being at the ready always to activate an opportunity and partner in this way. I love you guys. Everyone, thank you for coming. Hope to see you next week right here for Karen Calder with Classroom Central. Go have an awesome day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you, everybody.